Artificial intelligence is everywhere, and it's advancing at a dizzying pace. It's changing literally everything. But here's the thing. For AI to truly help us all, we have to be able to trust it. So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the essential guardrails we need to build AI responsibly. First, let's just get a sense of the scale we're talking about. According to McKinsey, AI could pump a staggering $13 trillion into the global economy by 2030. And this isn't just about money, It's about completely transforming industries like healthcare and farming. The stakes are just immense. This quote from Microsoft's Brad Smith just nails it, doesn't it? The technology is moving so fast, and our ability to manage it really has to play catch up. And with AI, we're dealing with one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever created.
So that leads us to the first big question. Why is this conversation so incredibly urgent right now? Well, the answer really lies in the breakneck speed of innovation.
Okay, check out this timeline. What's so wild is how fast AI reached what's called human parity in these areas. We're talking about just a few short years for machines to get as good as, and sometimes even better than, us at things we thought were uniquely human. And that's the whole point, right? The conversation has totally flipped. We've kind of moved past the technical question of what's possible. As these systems start acting more like us and making decisions for us, we have to face the much tougher ethical question of what they should be allowed to do. So, how do we even begin to answer that should question? Well, thankfully, a framework is starting to take shape. Let's walk through the 7 core principles that act as the rules of the road for building AI we can actually trust. Here they are. These 7 principles really cover the whole spectrum, from fairness to safety and everything in between. They're all connected for sure, but we're going to zoom in on 3 that are absolutely crucial to understanding the challenges we're facing. First up is equality, or you could just call it fairness. The goal seems simple, right? Make sure AI systems don't just copy, or worse, amplify the biases we already have in society. But actually doing that, it's incredibly difficult. And this example just hits you over the head with the problem. When a facial recognition model is mostly trained on pictures of one group of people, its accuracy for other groups can just fall off a cliff. And that's not some tiny technical bug. It has massive real-world consequences for people's lives. So, to even begin fixing problems like bias, you need our next principle, transparency. Some people call it explainability. I mean, think about it. If you can't understand why an AI did what it did, how can you ever really trust it or fix it when it's wrong? This is a huge deal, especially in high-stakes areas like medicine. Remember the big Go match between AlphaGo and Lee Sedol? It gave us the perfect example. Move 37 was brilliant. It was creative. No human would have ever made that move. But here's the kicker. Even the people who created AlphaGo couldn't fully explain its logic. That's the black box problem, in a nutshell. And that leads us straight to our third key principle, accountability. When a self-driving car gets in an accident, who's responsible? The person behind the wheel, the programmer who wrote the code, the company that sold the car? Suddenly, the lines get really, really blurry. A recent MIT study came up with this amazing term for what happens, the liability sponge. The idea is that when some complex algorithm messes up, the human closest to the failure ends up soaking up all the legal and moral blame, even when they had almost no real control. Okay, so having these principles is a great start. It's necessary, but it's not enough. The real challenge is turning these big ideas into something real. So how do companies actually do that? To really make this work, you need a holistic approach across these 4 building blocks. You can't just pick one. You need practical tools for developers, guided by solid internal processes, overseen by strong governance, and all of it has to live within the bigger framework of public policy and regulation. Now, on the tools front, things are moving pretty fast. We're seeing more and more open source kits that help developers get hands-on with these principles. Things like FairLearn to check for bias, Interpret ML to help crack open those black boxes, and techniques like differential privacy to protect our data. But again, tools by themselves are not a magic bullet. They have to be part of a bigger structure. And that brings us to governance. How do companies actually set themselves up to make these tough ethical calls? Not just once, but over and over again. Well, organizations kind of face a choice here. You could go with a centralized model, appoint a chief ethics officer. That's fast, and everyone knows who's in charge, but it's hard to make that work across a giant company. Or you could have a decentralized committee. You get more points of view, but things can move a lot slower. A lot of companies are now trying hybrid models to get the best of both. And this isn't just happening inside corporate boardrooms. Governments all over the world are getting involved. What's super interesting is that there's no single right answer. You've got the EU focusing on risk levels, Singapore focusing more on corporate governance, and Australia using a broader ethics framework. It's a truly global conversation, and it's still unfolding. So what does this all add up to? Where is all this heading? All of these efforts, the principles, the tools, the governance models, they're all pushing towards one single fundamental goal. And really, it all comes down to this. Like Satya Nadella says, trust is the ultimate currency. At the end of the day, businesses and society as a whole will only really embrace AI if they can trust it. Building that trust isn't just a nice thing to do, it's an absolute business necessity. Which leaves us with the central question that we have to keep asking ourselves. As these systems get smarter, more autonomous, and more woven into the fabric of our lives, figuring out this tangled web of accountability, well, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges of our time.